Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk to you about the Nefertari family, because beyond just spending a lot of time with the most recent descendant of the Nefertari family, being Nefertari Vivi, and of course their struggles during the Alabasta arc, and even their possible reappearance and increase in relevance again during Reverie. Beyond that, the Nefertari family are probably one of the most interesting figures in their history as well, um, because what little information we know about the Nefertari family and the history with like the Void Century and the creation of the world government, I think actually probably elucidates a lot in terms of what the ancient kingdom was like, what happened during the Void Century, and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about that a bit today because I don't really think I've ever seen this discussed very much, which is something I kind of have a problem with when making theories, is because like the theory's always been discussed. It seems like when there's actually ample evidence, but this one I haven't really seen discussed that much. I mean, it's not really a theory so much as it is describing in more depth, or like sort of making certain conclusions about the ancient kingdom and the Void Century based on what we know about the Nefertari family. Rather than like conclusive like theory, I guess. Just adding more information from like the context we get. You'll see what I mean. That's kind of a confusing way to put it. But yeah, so starting off, the Nefertari family poses somewhat of a contradiction, in that it was pretty much it's highly seems to be both an ally of the ancient kingdom and an ally of the world government. And what I mean by that is that obviously we know that the Nefertari family, 800 or so years ago, during the Void Century, was one of the 20 kingdoms that banded together to defeat the ancient kingdom and form the world government. And the Nefertari family was the only one out of the 20 that did not accept the role of ascending to the position of a celestial dragon, which is kind of contradictory to the fact that we also know that the Nefertari family should have been an ally of the ancient kingdom. And there's overwhelming evidence to this, even if it's not outright stated. For one, there's a poneglyph on Alabasta. That's kind of an important thing, the thing that they're trying to hide from the world government, the indestructible stones that have the real history of the world engraved in it. Why would the ancient kingdom entrust Alabasta one of these poneglyphs if they were one of the world government kingdoms? Secondly, the Pluton is on Alabasta, and there is some confusion because it's not made overwhelmingly clear, but the Pluton is on Alabasta. At least it is in the Viz translation of the manga. I don't know if there's different translations, but I recently reread. There's a lot of debate over whether or not the Pluton is actually in Alabasta. I've noticed in like the community, but in the Viz translation of the manga, at least the physical volumes that I have, I was rereading Alabasta semi-recently, and Crocodile states after he betrays Nico Robin that it's no matter, it's only a matter of time. Once I have the country under my control, it's only a matter of time until I find the Pluton anyway. So that to me says that the Pluton is supposed to be on Alabasta. And so, yeah, the Pluton is kind of a big deal. We know how the lengths that the world government went through to get just the blueprints of the Pluton during the Water 7 80s Lobby Saga. So, to entrust the Pluton with a kingdom that in theory should have been affiliated with the world government by the end of the Void Century seems kind of questionable. And lastly, and this is a bit more speculation, but a lot of people have noticed the similarities of the Alabasta flag and a lot of the other different flags and symbols throughout the One Piece world. And what I mean by that is that the Alabasta flag is the sun, It's got a big circle in the middle, and it's got 8 little satellite circles that have like a little tail on the end to be like little fires to make it look like a sun. But this little 8, the big circle with the 8 satellites, that is a symbol that appears frequently in One Piece. And the 2 most notable other times it appears is both in Shandora. It's not really a flag. I think it appears on like the shield. Like it's part of the Shandoran. It's some sort of Shandoran symbol. I don't know if it's necessarily a flag, but it does appear frequently in Shandora. And it also appears on the Kozuki crest. And something we know about both the Kazukis and Shandora is that they were once allies of the Ancient Kingdom. Both of them obviously have their own poneglyphs. But I think it was... Obviously, we know the Kozukis made the poneglyphs, so they were definitely one of the highest tier allies of the Ancient Kingdom. And Shandora, I believe it was stated to have fallen at some point at the hands of the world government, more or less. I don't know if that was explicitly stated, actually, but I forget actually now if that was said to be before or during the Void Century. But in any case, Shandora fell at some point. We know in any case that there was some big battle, and that was highly hinted at being the world government. Is that the people that the Shandorans fought against and eventually fell due to. So yeah, we know that they're part of the Ancient Kingdom, and we also know that the Kosuki were part of the Ancient Kingdom, or at least allied with the Ancient Kingdom. So if Alabasta also has this the symbol with the big circle and 8 satellites as their flag, then it's only reasonable to assume that they too were once an ally of the Ancient Kingdom. But you know, the symbol itself is it's debated as to what it actually is. For the longest time, most people assumed it was the Earth and like a bunch of moons surrounding it, because of the O'Hara model of the Earth has multiple moons surrounding it, not just one, like we see in the actual sky of One Piece. So it's speculated that there were once like actually like more than just one moon, and maybe they're destroyed or whatever. But yeah, so it was speculated that that was maybe the symbol. But also due to a recent manga event, if you know, you know, people have sort of speculated that it might just be a sun, especially since the Alabasta flag is obviously meant to be a sun, but it still falls in line with the other ones. But maybe the other ones are supposed to be a sun as well. Who knows? But then obviously, again, getting back to the topic at hand, that obviously poses a contradiction, because we obviously know outright that the Nefertari family was part of the original 20 kingdoms that formed the world government, but there is overwhelming evidence to suggest that they were in some capacity affiliated with the Ancient Kingdom. So what prompted this? And I think that definitely answers a lot of questions into what the Ancient Kingdom was actually like, and what actually went down during the Void Century. And what I mean by this is that there's sort of a tendency to maybe kind of just believe that the Ancient Kingdom kind of was a utopia of sorts. And I think that probably is not the case. I think it's probably more similar to to Wano just before like Orochi took over. So obviously we saw in Oden's flashback that Wano was not it was obviously, you know, an order of magnitude better than it was once Orochi and Kaido took control. But Wano was far from a utopia prior to their takeover. For one, there was a lot of discrimination, chiefly against the Kurozumis. You know, they hunted down the successors of that one grandpa that tried to kill the daimyos. But also we saw like with Kawamatsu and Nekomamushi and Inarashi, like the people of Wano would just see people different and be like, ah, yes, bad people, and try and kill them. But and that probably is a product of the borders being closed or whatever. The ignorance to the wider world or whatever. But we also get things like Kuri, where Kuri is just a lawless zone. That Odin obviously, and then with Kuri, Odin comes in and makes it into an actual functioning prefecture. I don't know what are the regions called in Wano. Are they called prefectures? I have no idea. Anyway, he makes Kuri into a functioning area or whatever, and also by accepting Kawamatsu and Nakamushi and Inarashi into his group of vassals, he also starts to fight the discrimination. So we start to see Odin make significant progress toward actually making Wano a significantly better place. And Orochi and Kaido show up, and they just wash that all away. And I think that it's safe to assume a similar thing was happening during the Void Century, or just before the fall of the Ancient Kingdom. Because obviously the Ancient Kingdom, I don't think, was a utopia. Again, due to the fact that the Nefertari family betrayed them. Maybe not betrayed. It's not. There's the possibility that they were allied with the Nation Kingdom, and that they betrayed them to join the what would become the world government, and then eventually would turn around and also rejoin the Ancient Kingdom. Maybe see that the world government is bad, or maybe they were just initially just affiliated with the world government, but then turned around and decided to align themselves with the Ancient Kingdom just as it was about to fall, and take on the Poneglyph and whatnot. I like the first option personally. I think it's probably reasonable to assume that it was more of a situation where they were already allied with the Ancient Kingdom. They disagreed with some of the stuff the Ancient Kingdom was doing. They saw the world governments starting to prop up, the allied nations, assumed that this would be the lesser of two evils, tried to reform the world by joining the world government. But then they saw what they were going to do when they offered them a position of celestial dragons. They're like, wait a minute, we're not about that. And denied the position and kind of rejoined the Ancient Kingdom, and were entrusted with the Poneglyph and the Pluton and whatnot. But yeah, I think especially with like Fishman Island, we can see that the Ancient Kingdom was definitely in the process of trying to make the world a better place. Because obviously we can see that the Fishman Island did exist under the Ancient Kingdom's rule, and that Joy Boy in particular was trying to bring them up to the surface via the Noah, and that's what the whole apology letter was for. Assumably he failed in that area because of the world government propping up and overthrowing whatever the Ancient Kingdom was, in order to gain power or whatever. So they failed that. They were in the process of making the world better, trying to actually finally achieve that utopia that they didn't actually already have, but they were trying to make it better. They're in the process. So they definitely were the lesser of two evils in that case. Because, again, I don't think that the Ancient Kingdom was a utopia. Even if, these figures like Joy Boy, or like the supposed to be the person rather, that, Roger and Luffy inherited their will from. It's supposed to be, the epitome of freedom, and we're assuming, he's probably this great eloquent figure during this time that, made the entire world free. And the entire world was a perfect place. That's why Roger said he wanted to live in Joy Boy's era. But I have a hard time believing that's the case because of the Nefertari family, and due to the fact that they allied themselves with the world government, despite obviously having the option of allying themselves with the Ancient Kingdom, or already being allied with the Ancient Kingdom. That just seems strange. I think it's fairly clear that not everything was coming up daffodils with the ancient kingdom, due to the fact that the Nefertari family did actually choose not to align with them. But yeah, with that being said, though, I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Just the idea that the ancient kingdom was not utopia, but was in the process of, maybe getting better, as we saw through Fishman Island. But they kind of got cut short due to the world government, in a similar vein to Kazuki, and that is all made evident due to the Nefertari family's actions. That's kind of the brief summary of my entire theory there. But yeah, with that being said, I don't really think I have anything else to say on this subject. So see ya.